We had some breaking news. An Israeli spokesperson has told Reuters that the Ayatollah is dead and his body has been found. This has not been confirmed by the Iranian regime, so we cannot say it 100%, but it does seem like it's a very distinct possibility that the supreme leader in Iran is dead. That being the case, obviously, the Ayatollah did not operate in isolation. There is a whole regime, a system in place that was behind him. So my question to you this hour is, what happens next? What do you think is going to happen now? 0345 6060 973 is the number that you need. You can text 84850 or send a comment to LBC via your Alexa. In the meantime, while you're thinking about that question, we have Simon Marks on the line, who I believe has some breaking news from Washington for us. Simon, what can you tell us?
Well, Natasha, within the last few minutes, President Trump has given an interview by telephone to the website Axios here, and he has indicated that he is open to seeking off-ramps in terms of this military conflict with Iran. He has said in comments that I think further underscore the total absence of any comprehensive strategy guiding this military assault, that he can either extend the campaign for as long as is necessary and, as he puts it, take everything into my own hands, or he can wrap things up in 2 or 3 days and basically say to the Iranian government, I'll see you again next time you start developing your nuclear or long-range missile program. Now, what happens in all of that to the much-professed call on the Iranian people to rise up and seize the opportunity to form their own government and finally rid themselves of a regime that President Trump's own influencer on Capitol Hill, Senator Lindsey Graham, has again today compared to the Nazis and actually attacked the Prime Minister and other European leaders, accusing them of seeking to appease a regime that he equates with the Nazis, is very unclear. But there are indications here this afternoon that within hours of beginning this military assault on Iran, Donald Trump is already looking for a way to wrap it up. And that feeds into the notion that actually the outcome that he might be looking for in Iran is not dissimilar to the outcome of events in Venezuela after his January attack on Caracas that led, of course, to the overthrow of President Nicolas Maduro, his abduction, but then the United States keeping his regime in place and working with his own Vice President Delcy Rodriguez, in exchange for which, of course, she handed control of Venezuela's oil industry over to the US government. It is perfectly possible that that is the kind of outcome that Donald Trump may be looking for. I think we also have to ask whether, over the course of the last few hours, seeing the reaction to what has taken place in Iran and the evidence that the Iranians have the military capacity, at least over the short term, to broaden the conflict and attack their neighbors, many of whom are regional allies of the United States, whether the Trump administration isn't coming under intense pressure from those regional allies, who, of course, have said to Donald Trump for weeks, do not do this. If you do this, you have no way of conditioning the outcome of this military action, especially if you're not willing to put American boots on the ground, which is precisely where we find ourselves this evening. But astonishing comments to that website Axios by Donald Trump, indicating he's looking for an off-ramp and he might be willing to settle for a situation in which the current Iranian government in some fashion remains in power, just hours after indicating that this was all about regime change. Suddenly, it seems that perhaps it wasn't.
So not as deeply concerned with the plight of the Iranian people as perhaps you might have suggested, which will come as a shock to absolutely no one. Can I ask, Simon, did he give this interview before or after the Israeli spokesperson confirmed to Reuters that the Ayatollah is dead?
I don't know the precise timing of that and the sequence of events, but there have obviously been rumours here for hours that the Supreme Leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, was at least missing in action. And we'd heard several hours ago from Channel 12 in Israel, a television station supportive of Benjamin Netanyahu, that they believed that the Supreme Leader had been killed. Certainly, that was one goal of this military action, and we know that the Iranian President, Masoud Pezeshkian, was also targeted by the joint US-Israeli military attack. I do think it is worth underscoring that, never mind international law, and of course this completely contravenes international law, as everyone has been observing over the last few hours, and we've heard no justification for this action in terms of international law. It also, on the face of it, appears to break American law, because there is a law enacted by President Ronald Reagan in 1981 that prohibits any American president or other public official from engaging in the attempted assassination of a foreign head of government or other senior officials within foreign governments. And I think there's no doubt that what has seemingly taken place, the fate that appears to have befallen the Iranian Supreme Leader, while absolutely nobody, I think, here or in large parts of the world is going to be shedding any tears over his demise, given the deadly crackdown on protesters, thousands of whom got shot by the Iranian Revolutionary Guards just earlier this year. Given the long track record of international terrorism by the government, there will be few, certainly in the West, shedding tears over his demise. But on the face of it, that looks like not only an egregious breach of international law, but also a breach of American law as well.
Will there be any consequences for Trump if it is found that he's broken American law?
Well, there'll be no consequences in terms of anybody moving forward and saying you've broken American law and therefore you have to be brought to book over it. I mean, I think the political consequences of all of this must be in doubt, given the electoral calendar here. I mean, it's now almost March. We've got midterm elections in November, and up on Capitol Hill, you've got a lot of very nervous Republicans wondering if they're going to be returned to office when votes are cast in those midterm elections that will determine the balance of power in Congress. So the president is skating on thin ice, and he's got to keep those Republicans on side, and they will be wondering about the political consequences of backing to the hilt a military campaign that, again, is being run in the absence of any plan. Their president has not explained to the American people what the purpose is of this, what the cause of it is. I mean, this loose suggestion that there was an imminent threat to American national security just 7 months after the president told the country that he had completely obliterated Iran's nuclear program. In fact, if you go to the White House website, you can still find on it a news release by the president's press secretary saying that Iran's nuclear program was totally obliterated, and anybody suggesting otherwise is engaging in fake news. But now the administration itself says that there was an imminent threat to American national security because the Iranians had been rebuilding that nuclear program, or maybe perhaps those reports that we got last July were accurate and that it was never completely obliterated, and that the Iranians did in fact squirrel away some of their enriched uranium stockpiles before the US and Israeli military assault began. I do think it's worth underscoring, Natasha, he's not ruling out tonight here the prospect of an extended engagement by US forces in Iran, and earlier US officials, who of course have been huddled with him at Mar-a-Lago and here in Washington, his national security team, were saying that there could be days and days of this to come. But this is a significant shift in the president's narrative, already saying he's looking for an off-ramp, and potentially one that keeps the regime in place. And then he says, I'll see them again in a few years when they've tried to rebuild their nuclear and ballistic missile program again. That is a stunning change from a man who just hours ago was projecting himself as a hero of the Iranian people, the first American president who had had the guts to do what needed to be done in order to give them the opportunity to take action to seize control of their own country's destiny.